The ground trembled like thunder. Explosions echoed through the purple skies of Vereldenine. The war wasn't supposed to reach this peaceful colony. Yet now everything was burning. Families ran, buildings collapsed, and above it all, warships blazed across the sky, turning the quiet valley into a battlefield dot in the middle of the panic. Inside a shaking shelter carved into a cliff, a small figure pressed herself against the cold rock wall. Her long silver hair was matted with dust. Her pale blue skin shimmered faintly under the emergency light. She was young, no more than 19 by human standards. But what made her different wasn't her delicate alien features, it was her eyes. They were clouded white, unmoving, and empty. She was blind. Her name was Lyra. Her thin fingers brushed along the cracked wall as she tried to stand. But a fresh tremor made her fall again. She bit her lip, trying not to cry out. She could hear the sounds outside: footsteps, screams, weapons. Charging, then something closer. A growl, a mechanical hiss. Something non-human was inside the shelter. Lyra's heart thudded. She crawled backward, her hand landing on a loose stone. She raised it, ready to strike blindly if the creature came closer. Her breaths came quick and shallow. The growl grew louder. Metal scraped across stone. A sharp breath from a machine beast filled the small space. Then a voice cut through the dark. "Don't move." It was male. Calm, human. Lyra froze. She didn't know if the voice meant safety or death, but something about it. It wasn't cold like the others. It wasn't commanding. It sounded confused, careful. The footsteps moved closer, slow, not like a hunter. More like someone searching. "I saw you crawl in here," the voice said. "You're not armed. Are you hurt?" She didn't speak. Her lips trembled. "I'm not with the enemy," he added. "Name's Hunter, Human Rescue Unit." He moved forward again, and Lyra flinched as he stepped into the faint emergency light. His face was bruised, uniform torn, but he didn't hold his weapon toward her. Instead, he lowered it to the ground and knelt beside her. "You're blind?" he asked gently. Lyra's head tilted slightly. She didn't answer. He exhaled. "Damn, you shouldn't be here alone." She finally spoke, her voice low and broken. "They left me." "Who?" "My own kind. They said I'm useless." "I can't see. I can't fight." Hunter blinked. He looked at her more carefully now. Her cheeks were bruised too. Old bruises. Not from the war. He reached into his belt and offered her a small protein bar. She hesitated, sniffed it, then took it with slow hands. "You're not useless," he said. "They're just too stupid to see what you are." "What am I?" she whispered. "Alive." A loud crash outside made both of them jump. Hunter turned quickly, pulling his gun again. "We need to get out of here." "I can't run," she said quietly. He looked at her. "Can you walk? If you guide me." He didn't hesitate. He helped her stand, carefully wrapping one arm around her shoulders. She was light, shaking from exhaustion. But she moved. Together, they made their way out of the shelter. Smoke covered the sky. They ducked behind metal wreckage and kept moving. Lyra couldn't see the dangers, but she felt them in every vibration of the ground, every gust of wind from distant explosions. She held tightly to the human's hand. They reached the extraction point just before the next wave hit. A large human dropship hovered down, and soldiers ran toward it. Some paused when they saw Hunter and the alien girl. "Who's that?" One asked. "She's coming with us," Hunter said. Firmly. "She's Verelden," the soldier replied. "Not part of the mission." Hunter stepped forward. "She's blind. They left her behind like trash. I'm not doing the same." There was a long pause, then a nod. Lyra was helped aboard the ship. It was her first time leaving her planet. And she couldn't even see it. She sat quietly in a corner while the engines roared to life. All around her were human voices, some kind, some doubtful. But she could feel Hunter sitting close. "You're safe now," he said. She didn't answer. But for the first time, her shoulders relaxed. She didn't know what came next. She didn't even know if she belonged. But deep down, she was sure of one thing. She was no longer alone, and somewhere, deep inside, something stirred, something her people didn't know about her. Something they had missed. She wasn't just a blind girl. She was more than they had ever believed. And soon, the humans would see just how far her true power could reach. The transport ship flew through space like a silver bullet, leaving behind the chaos of Verelda 9. Lyra sat on a padded bench, knees drawn up, arms wrapped around herself. Her long silver hair was tangled, her dress torn, and her bare feet trembled against the cold floor. But it wasn't the cold that made her shiver. It was the fear of the unknown. She couldn't see the humans around her, but she could hear them whispering. "Why did we bring her? She's not even one of us. She can't fight, she's blind." Hunter sat next to her. He didn't say much, but his presence was solid like a wall against their doubts. Every time someone said something cruel, he glanced at them. And they quieted. Lyra tilted her head. "Are all humans this loud?" Hunter chuckled. "You should hear us during lunch." She smiled faintly, surprised by her own reaction. It had been so long since anyone made her laugh. Even a little. The ship landed on a giant human space station, a floating fortress, surrounded by blinking lights and metal arms that reached out into the stars. Lyra didn't know what it looked like, but she could feel it humming with power under her feet. They escorted her into a medical bay. The white walls smelled of chemicals and metal. Machines beeped and scanned her as she sat on a soft bed. "She's malnourished," a medic said. "Bruised ribs, old fractures, she's been through hell." "Can you help her?" Hunter asked. "She needs rest, food, and time. And maybe someone who won't treat her like garbage." Hunter looked at Lyra. "She has that now." Later, in a quiet room with a warm blanket around her, Lyra asked the question that had been burning in her chest since they left her planet. "Why did you help me?" Hunter didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because I know what it's like to be left behind." She turned her head toward his voice. "Were you ever blind?" He smiled. "Not like you. But I've seen what people do to those they think are weak. I lost my squad once. Everyone assumed I couldn't handle command anymore. I got reassigned to clean up missions until I found you." Lyra was silent. Her people had called her worthless, weak, a burden. But this human, this stranger, saw something different. "I want to help," she whispered. "But I can't fight. I can't even walk straight without bumping into walls." Hunter leaned closer. "You don't need to fight the way others do. There are different kinds of strength." She hesitated. "They said I was born broken. But there's something inside me. I feel it sometimes, like I know things before they happen. Like the air tells me." Hunter blinked. "You mean, like a sixth sense?" She nodded slowly. "I never told anyone. They'd only mock me more." He stared at her for a long moment, then stood. "Come with me." He led her through the station to a training room. Inside, people were sparring with wooden staffs. Others worked with sensors and gear. But in one corner, a black box was set up sealed tight, with no lights, no windows. "What is that?" she asked. "It's a test chamber," he said. "No light, no sound. We use it to train soldiers to fight without relying on their eyes." She turned toward him slowly. "You want me to go in?" "I want to see what you can do." Lyra stepped inside the chamber. Darkness wrapped around her like a blanket, but she was used to darkness. It was the others who feared it. A faint sound clicked. A mechanical drone moved somewhere inside the room. It scanned for heat. It targeted anything with movement. Lyra listened, not with ears but with her skin, her breath, her bones. She felt the way the air shifted. She tilted her head, then without warning, she ducked. A soft thud echoed. A laser. Shot missed her head by an inch. Outside, Hunter watched through sensors. His eyes widened. She was dodging the shots. Again and again, the drone fired. And every time, Lyra moved just a second before it did. When the drone powered down, the room went quiet. She stepped back out, calm, breathing steady. "Was I okay?" she asked. Hunter nodded slowly. "You were more than okay." For the first time since they met, she smiled without fear. From that moment on, rumors began to spread around the base. The blind alien girl could sense movement before it happened. She could dodge training drones with ease. She didn't need eyes to read the battlefield. Some laughed at first. Others mocked her, but the ones who trained with her? They stopped laughing. Because every day, Lyra became faster, sharper, stronger. And the station was about to learn that her value had nothing to do with sight. It had everything to do with what no one else could see. What was hidden inside her all along. She wasn't weak. She was something new, and the war hadn't seen anything like her yet. The days passed quickly inside the human station, but to Lyra, they felt like a second chance at life. Every morning, she woke up before the others. She couldn't see the sunrise, but she could feel it through the station's walls, the hum of power changing slightly, the quiet warmth of artificial light on her skin. She trained harder than anyone. Not with weapons or sight, but with her senses. She moved through obstacle courses while blindfolded, though she didn't need the blindfold. She dodged strikes by feeling shifts in air. And most importantly, she listened. Hunter watched her. Every day, he didn't treat her like a pet project. He treated her like a soldier, like someone who mattered. One morning, as she was practicing with a moving combat drone, a small group of human soldiers stood nearby, whispering again, "She's quick, but she'll break under pressure. She's still just a blind alien girl. She can't satisfy a real combat team's needs." Lyra paused mid-movement. Her ears picked up every word. She didn't say anything, but her hands clenched into fists. That night, she stayed in the training hall long after the others had left. She set the drones to their highest speed. 3 at once. They moved unpredictably, spinning, striking, aiming. She didn't dodge everything. She fell once. Her arm bled from a grazing shot. But she got back up. She didn't cry. She didn't stop. Hunter entered quietly and stood in the shadows, watching her. When the drones powered down, she stood, panting, arms shaking. "You heard them," Hunter said softly. She didn't turn toward him. "Yes, they don't understand you yet, but I think you can change that." She turned then, her white eyes glowing faintly. "How?" He stepped forward. "By showing them what satisfaction really means. Not just combat, not just orders. Teams work best when they trust each other, when they feel safe, supported. That's what makes someone truly valuable, not weapons, but connection." Lyra tilted her head. "And you think I can give that?" He nodded. "You already are." The next day, a surprise test was announced across the station. A simulation chamber was prepared. Human squads would enter and face randomized challenges, ambushes, stealth attacks, environmental hazards. It was meant to test who could adapt, who could lead, and who could survive. Lyra volunteered. The commanding officer frowned. "She's not part of any squad." "She can run solo," Hunter said. "Then she'd fail." Hunter's voice stayed calm. "Let her try." They let her in. Inside the chamber, Lyra was dropped into a fake jungle zone. Sounds of wind and animals played through hidden speakers. Fog covered the ground. Invisible drones watched her every step. From a control room, the officers watched her too, expecting her to get confused or freeze up. She didn't. She crouched low, feeling the ground with her hands. She moved slowly at first, then faster. She used her hearing to track fake enemies. She used her breath to test the air. She disarmed traps. She avoided the first wave of attackers by moving before they got close, and when she was surrounded, she surprised them all. She didn't attack wildly. She fought with precision, sweeping feet, dodging hits, using her small frame and fast reaction to disarm larger opponents. Her blindness didn't slow her down, it guided her in ways others couldn't understand. She finished the course with better time than half the real soldiers in the observation room. No one spoke for a long moment. Then one of the commanders muttered, "That girl, she's something else." Later that evening, as Lyra rested in her room, someone knocked on her door. It was a young human soldier, nervous, fidgeting. "Can I ask you something?" Lyra sat up. "Yes? I've seen how you move, how you listen. It's like you make people feel seen, even without your eyes. You're not just surviving here. You're making the rest of us believe again." She didn't know what to say. No one had spoken to her like that before. Not even from her own kind. The soldier continued, "I've been messed up since the last mission. Can't sleep, can't focus. But after watching you, I feel like maybe I'm not broken either." Lyra stood, walked over to him, and gently reached out. Her hand touched his arm. "You are not broken," she said softly. "You are still here. That's proof enough." Word spread fast. She wasn't just surviving training now. She was guiding others, comforting soldiers, helping them focus, even teaching some to fight without their eyes. Her soft voice became something people listened to. Her presence became calming, powerful. She couldn't see the respect growing in their eyes, but she could feel it. The same people who once whispered about her now followed her advice. Not because she had rank, but because she had something deeper, something that didn't need sight to be real. And soon, someone else would come to the station, someone from the outside war who would demand answers. Why was a blind alien girl becoming the heart of a human unit? And Lyra would be ready, because she wasn't just proving herself. She was changing everything. The next day, a high-ranking human general arrived on the station. His name was Commander Vex. His uniform was perfect, his face cold, and his voice sharper than a blade. He had come to inspect the unit, to prepare them for the next wave of war. But there was something else behind his visit, something deeper. Who was the alien girl I keep hearing about? He asked during the morning briefing. Hunter stood. "Her name is Lyra." "She's the blind one?" "Yes, sir." "Commander." Vex narrowed his eyes. "And yet your reports claim she's leading morale improvement, passing combat trials, and helping guide new recruits." Hunter nodded. "That's correct." Vex slammed a tablet onto the desk. "Impossible. She's not even human." "She's more than you think," Hunter replied. Vex didn't answer. Instead, he ordered a live demonstration. That afternoon, Lyra was brought to the largest training hall. Soldiers lined the walls. Drones floated overhead, cameras rolling. Everyone on the station was watching, including the ones who still doubted. Commander Vex stepped forward. "You will be placed in a combat scenario with 5 trained soldiers. You are to lead them through the challenge zone. Succeed, and I'll consider your presence here justified. Fail, and you'll be sent off the station." Lyra didn't react. She only nodded once. Before entering the simulation chamber, Hunter pulled her aside. "You don't have to prove anything to them." "Yes, I do," she said softly. "But not because I need their approval. Because I want to protect the others who feel like me, the ones everyone gave up on." Hunter said nothing. He only placed his hand over hers for a second. Then she stepped inside. The test began. A thick jungle hologram surrounded her. 5 soldiers followed behind, young, uncertain, unsure if they could trust her. She felt their nervous energy like a pulse in the air. She moved slowly, each step measured. Her hands grazed branches, her head tilted to the sounds around them. "Wait," she whispered suddenly. A trap exploded just ahead, flames shooting from the trees. If they had walked 5 more steps, all 6 of them would have been scorched. The soldiers stared at her in shock. How did you know?" one asked. She smiled faintly. The birds stopped chirping. They followed her now, silent, eyes wide. She guided them past sensors, motion bombs, ambushes. She heard the hiss of gas a second before it was released. She sensed hidden enemies waiting behind trees and moved around them. But halfway through the test, one of the soldiers tripped. A mine. It exploded behind them, his legs badly injured. "Go without me," he cried. "No," Lyra said, kneeling beside him. "I'll guide you." She wrapped his arm over her shoulder. Though smaller than him, she helped carry his weight. The others tried to help too. They listened to her directions. She spoke softly, clearly, each word filled with calm. They reached the end of the test zone just before the time ran out. Commander Vex watched in silence as the doors opened, and Lyra stepped out, holding up the injured soldier. The crowd was speechless. Vex walked up to her, looking into her blank white eyes. "You can't see," he said. "No," she replied. "Yet you led them better than most of my trained officers." Lyra didn't answer. He nodded once. "You may stay." Whispers broke out around the station. But they weren't mocking anymore. They were filled with awe. That night, something changed. One by one, soldiers came to see her. Some asked for guidance. Some asked for stories of her past. Others just wanted to sit in silence beside her. She became more than a fighter. She became a symbol. One evening, in a quiet corner of the station, Hunter sat with her, watching her teach a young recruit how to move without relying on sight. "You're doing more than training people," he said. She tilted her head. "What am I doing then?" "You're giving them something no tech or weapon ever could." She waited. "Hope." She turned toward him. "Do you believe I can be enough, even like this?" He looked into her face. "You don't just satisfy their doubts, Lyra. You erase them. You replace fear with strength. That's more than enough." She was silent for a moment, then whispered, "I've never felt wanted before. Never felt like I could be the reason someone else stood tall." "You are," he said. And just then, alarms rang across the station. This time, it wasn't training. A real enemy ship was approaching, and Lyra's biggest challenge was still waiting. Not in darkness, but in fire. The station lights turned red. Sirens screamed. Soldiers ran through the halls, grabbing weapons, armor, and gear. The enemy had arrived, an alien raider fleet known as the Varnak. They were brutal, silent, and fast. No warning. No peace. Only death. Commander Vex stood in the control room, shouting orders. "All hands to battle positions. Prepare for boarding parties. Protect the core." Hunter grabbed his gear and turned to Lyra. "You stay here," but she shook her head. "No. I feel them coming." "You can't fight in open battle," he said firmly. "This isn't a test, Lyra. This is war." "I'm not going to fight like you do," she whispered. "But I am going." Before he could stop her, she turned and moved swiftly down the corridor. Her steps were light, steady. She didn't bump into anything. Somehow, it was like she knew the ship better than anyone. In a far section of the station, a group of young recruits, barely trained, were trapped behind a sealed bulkhead. Enemy forces were already breaking through. The commanding officers had no time to reach them, but Lyra did. She arrived outside the bulkhead, just as the enemy started to cut through the door. Inside, the young soldiers were panicking. One was crying. Another held a shaky weapon, unsure how to use it. Then they heard a calm voice through the speaker. "Stay quiet. Stay low. I'm here." The girl on the other end, barely 16, gasped. You're the blind one." "Yes," Lyra said. "And I'm going to get you out." She placed her hands on the wall. She focused. The air was thick, hot. She could feel the energy of the Varnak pressing against the other side of the door. Not with sight, but with something deeper. She reached for the emergency vent nearby. With a few careful movements, she unlocked it and slipped inside. Crawling through the narrow duct, she felt every vibration, every movement of the station's metal bones. She moved fast. The recruits inside huddled, listening to the sounds of metal being sliced open. The enemy was almost through. Their time was running out. Then suddenly, the vent popped open above them. Lyra dropped down. They stared in disbelief. "Follow me," she said simply. "We can't," one of them stammered. "We're not ready. We'll mess it up." She stepped close, placed her hand on the girl's shoulder. "You don't need to be perfect. You just need to trust me." They nodded. One by one, she guided them into the vent. The last boy was too scared to move. "They'll kill us," he whispered. "No," she said, "you'll live. Because I won't let you die." He followed. Minutes later, as the Varnock broke through the bulkhead, they found nothing but empty walls. The recruits were already gone thanks to her. Elsewhere, Hunter and a small squad were under heavy fire. The enemy was closing in from both sides. The corridor was tight. They were running low on ammo. Suddenly, a door opened behind them. Lyra stepped out. Hunter's eyes widened. "What are you doing here?" She didn't answer. She raised her hand. "Now!" she shouted. An emergency panel flipped open above them, and the young recruit she had just saved dropped down, weapons in hand. Not perfect, not polished, but steady. The recruits took up positions around Hunter's squad. Together, they fought. And for the first time, no one saw Lyra as weak. They saw her as a leader. She didn't fire a gun. She didn't swing a blade. But she moved between them, shouting warnings before shots came, sensing the enemy before they appeared. Her timing was perfect. Her instincts were deadly. Hunter realized something important in that moment. Lyra wasn't just surviving the war, she was shaping it. When the battle ended, the Varnock ship was destroyed. The station was damaged but still standing. They had lost a few, but they had saved many more. The medbay filled with wounded. And beside each bed, someone whispered her name. The girl who couldn't see. The girl who saved their lives. Later that night, Commander Vex called for her. She stood before him, her head held high. "You disobeyed orders," he said. "I did," she answered calmly. "You put yourself in danger." "I did." He stared at her for a long time, then said, "You also saved 23 soldiers." Lyra didn't speak. He leaned closer. "Tell me the truth. How do you know where danger is? How do you feel things the rest of us don't?" She hesitated, then answered, "I don't know how to explain it. It's like the world speaks to me in vibrations, energy, heat, emotions. I just listen." He looked at her closely, then said, "You're not like the others. Not even like the other Vareldans." She nodded. "You're something else." He paused. "And we're going to need you again soon." She nodded once, then turned and walked out, her steps quiet, her presence louder than any general's voice. She couldn't see. But now, the entire station saw her, not as a blind girl, but as someone they could follow into the dark and come out alive. Days passed, but Lyra's name was now spoken across every hallway on the station. Soldiers from different squads came to see her. Some wanted training, others just wanted to sit in silence near her. They said being close to her made them feel safer, even if they didn't understand why. One night, Hunter found her alone in the observation dome, facing the blackness of space. Her white eyes glowed faintly from the starlight. "You should be resting," he said. "I don't sleep much anymore," she replied softly. "There's too much noise in my mind." He stepped beside her. "Nightmares?" "No, feelings from the others. They're scared. They pretend they're not, but I hear it in their breathing, feel it in their skin. It never stops." Hunter nodded slowly. "You feel more than most." She turned her head toward him. "I was always told I could never satisfy anyone, that no male would ever want me. That I had no value. Hunter clenched his jaw. They were wrong. She tilted her head slightly. Do you believe I'm enough? He looked at her, truly looked at her. You don't need to prove anything. What you've done already, no one else could. I want to be more, she said, voice trembling. I want to give strength, comfort, even love if I'm able. Hunter took her hand gently. Lyra, you already do. She didn't pull away, but before anything else could be said, an alert chimed from Hunter's comb. He pressed it. Go ahead. A voice answered, tense and quick. Sir, we've picked up a distress call. Small human outpost on Moon X-34, under attack. They're requesting emergency help. Hunter's eyes narrowed. Who's attacking? Unknown force. Not Varnock, something else. Send coordinates, Hunter replied. Lyra turned toward him. You're going. He nodded. I'll be back. She stepped forward. Take me with you. He hesitated. This could be worse than the last fight. I don't know what's out there. I want to help. I can help. He looked at her for a long time, then nodded. They boarded a small human dropship with a small team. Inside were soldiers who had once doubted Lyra, but now watched her with quiet respect. Some nodded to her. Others offered soft smiles. One even said, Glad you're with us. The ship descended to the moon's rocky surface. Smoke rose in the distance. Fires burned through metal buildings. The outpost was half destroyed. The attackers were strange. Tall creatures with crystal skin and spiked limbs. Silent. Fast. Deadly. Lyra stepped off the ship and froze. Her breath caught. Hunter looked at her. What is it? I feel them. She whispered. But not just their bodies. Their minds. What are they? She tilted her head, trembling. They're hunters. But not like soldiers. They feed on fear. Hunter's eyes narrowed. They sense emotions? Yes, that's why the humans here are losing. The more scared they are, the stronger these things become. Hunter turned to the others. Hold position. Let Lyra lead. No one argued. They entered the ruins. Shadows danced through smoke. The crystal creatures moved in silence, watching. Lyra led the way. Her hands glided across broken walls. She whispered to the others, Slow your hearts. Breathe deep. Don't let fear win. The soldiers listened. Step by step. They moved without panic. One creature leaped from the ceiling, but Lyra spun before it touched the ground. Left. She cried. The soldiers fired, striking the enemy mid-air. Another came from behind. She shouted again, Down. They ducked and returned fire. Each time, her warning came just seconds before danger. It was like she saw with something more powerful than eyes. But soon, they reached the center of the outpost. A group of survivors injured and hiding were cornered by 4 of the creatures. The humans couldn't move, paralyzed by fear. The monsters grew stronger, feeding on that terror. Lyra stepped forward alone. Don't, Hunter shouted. It's too dangerous. She didn't stop. She stood in the open. The creatures hissed, but she didn't move. She closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed. She whispered, I am not afraid. The air changed. She opened her arms. Her calm spread. The survivors behind her felt it. The soldiers beside her felt it. Their fear faded. The creatures froze. Then, one by one, they backed away. Retreated. Vanished. Hunter ran to her. What did you do? She opened her eyes. They feed on panic. I took it away. I satisfied something they couldn't control. He looked at her in awe. You didn't just fight them, he said. You undid them. She smiled faintly. Told you, she whispered. I can still satisfy. In ways no one expects. That night they returned to the station. Wounded soldiers cheered as the news spread. The blind girl had defeated monsters without firing a single shot, not by strength, by spirit. And somewhere deep in space, a darker force had heard about her now, and it was coming. The station floated quietly above a glowing planet, surrounded by darkness, but peace didn't last. Warnings soon flashed across the command deck. Something massive was approaching. Not a ship, not a fleet. A being. It had no name, only whispers. Void Caller. An ancient alien entity that devoured life and light. It had destroyed entire colonies. No one ever survived its approach. The stars near it flickered out. Communications failed. Even AI systems glitched when it came close. It didn't speak. It felt. And now, it was heading toward the human station. Commander Vex gathered every unit. This is not war. This is survival. We fight or we vanish. But Hunter had another idea. He looked at Lyra. She stood still, quiet. Her silver hair fell over her shoulders, her eyes white and unmoving. But inside her, something burned stronger than ever. I want to meet it, she said. Vex scoffed. You're blind. I see more than all your satellites, she replied. Hunter. Step beside her. She's our only chance. With no other hope, they agreed. A small pod was prepared. Lyra would go alone. No weapons. No tricks. Just her. As she floated out toward the dark void in the silent pod, everything became still. The stars blinked out one by one, and then she felt it. The presence. It didn't speak in words. It was pure pressure. Power. It pressed against her body. Her mind. It wanted her memories. Her fear. Her soul. But she didn't resist. She opened herself completely. She let it see her pain, her past. How she was thrown away, unloved. Forgotten. Then she let it see something else. The touch of a human hand when she was saved. The warmth of voices that once called her useless, but now called her leader. The boy she comforted. The girl she trained. The soldier she led in battle. And the man who believed in her when no one else did. The Void Caller. Pause. She felt it hesitate. It had never seen this kind of strength. Not from weapons. Not from machines, but from the heart. Lyra sent it one more feeling piece. She whispered into the pod, not knowing if it could hear her. You don't have to destroy to be understood. You don't need to feed on fear. I know what it's like. To be alone. The void around her began to change. The pressure lifted. The stars returned, one by one. The command station buzzed with signals again. The Void Caller turned away. It vanished into deep space, leaving the station untouched. Cheers exploded across the station. People hugged, cried, screamed her name. Lyra! Lyra! The pod returned. Hunter opened the hatch and pulled her into his arms. You did it, he whispered. She nodded. I didn't fight it. I satisfied its hunger another way. You gave it what no one else could, she smiled softly. Connection. From that day forward, Lyra was not just known as the blind alien girl. She became a symbol of strength without violence. Legend passed across systems. She trained soldiers from many planets, not just in combat, but in how to feel, how to guide, how to lead through fear. Many males came to her for comfort, not in lust, but in need. They found peace with her, confidence, clarity. She satisfied broken warriors by giving them what war had stolen. Hope. And Hunter remained by her side. Not as her protector, but as her partner. In time, statues were built in her honor. But she never cared for those. All she wanted was to keep helping those who had been told they were worthless, because she had once been blind and abandoned. And now she helped others see. Not with eyes, but with something far greater.